Welcome, I'm Solo, and today we have a little bit of a special one. Today we're going to be cooking a little bit of HelloFresh. In this one here, we're going to be making a smart Mexican-inspired shrimp, and we're going to be going through the chopping, the dicing, the cooking, and we're going to make ourselves a really nice meal from HelloFresh. So I'll be going over and covering it step by step on how to make this here dish. To get started, we can get all the ingredients. There's going to be shrimp, guacamole, cilantro, zucchini, green peppers, tomatoes, Mexican season, red onion, garlic, salt, and white vinegar. And if you turn it over, you will see on the back that to start preparing, we want to wash and dry all the produce, cut and core the pepper, have the zucchini, cut the tomato into 1/4 inch pieces, roughly chop the cilantro, and peel and cut the onion. And while we're doing that, we're going to drain the shrimp and we have to season it with pepper. So what we're going to do now is just prep the vegetables and get them ready. We'll get everything sorted and we'll go from there. First thing we're going to do is clean things out of the way, and we're going to do the zucchini. Now the zucchini, we're just going to cut each end off. And to make this here simple and easy, we're going to cut it down the center. This is just going to make it easier for us to be able to cut it into half moon shapes. And we're going to cut the half moon shapes into about 1/2 inch pieces. They're going to look a little bit big, but this will be fine. Now we just need to get a bowl to put these in. We're going to keep all of our stuff separated in bowls just so that it's easy to follow along. And the next, we're going to do the tomatoes. This is going to be the same thing. We're going to cut each end off to get started. Then we're going to cut it down the middle the same way. And then we're just going to put it on its back and cut it. We're doing this here because our knife was really dull. And to cut the tomato the other way around, it was actually really hard. I was smushing the tomato more than it was cutting. And that was just because I have a dull knife. Keep that in mind. I'm cutting the tomato upside down just for that reason. It cuts a lot easier like this. And we're just going to cut it into small squares, about 1/4 inch piece. So we want these here to be diced up a little bit smaller than what we did the zucchini. And the second tomato, for this here recipe, it does take the 2 tomatoes, but I think it'll vary depending on the size of tomatoes that you pick out. For this one, it was 1 zucchini and 2 tomatoes. And again, my knife was really dull for this here, so I did smush the tomato a little bit. Don't worry, you shouldn't have that problem if you have like at least decent knives. After that's done, we're going to clean everything up and we're going to roughly chop the cilantro. This is just going to be super rough chop. It doesn't really matter. You can rip it up with your hands. I just chopped it with the knife for it to look good and then throw it in the bowl, same as the rest of them. And then we're going to do the onion next. This is just going to be a medium-sized red onion. We're going to cut the ends off exactly the same way, cut it down the middle, and then chop it and dice it into small pieces. This is going to be the same as the tomato. And it can vary anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch pieces. I find the onion, I enjoyed it a little bit smaller than the rest of it, so I chopped mine a little bit finer. Keep that in mind. You can change the size that you chop this here a little bit, but I would definitely suggest leaving it around the suggested size due to cook times. And put that all in a bowl, and then we'll do the other half. And now we're going to do the green pepper. This is going to be easy. We're just going to take the core out, cut it all the way around, take the core out, and make sure that you get all of the seeds out. And then we're just going to slice it down and cut it in the middle. And we're going to dice this here. We're going to cut it into strips and then we'll dice it into, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, small, fine diced pieces. Again, my knife is dull. Try not to pay attention to it too much. And there we go, the pepper's done. We're just going to clean up the mess. And now we're going to get the stove ready. So to get this here started, we're going to heat up the pan. I put the oil in a little too early, but we're going to dump the ingredients in. Zucchini, onion, green pepper. We're just going to dump those in and get the pan hot. Give it a little bit of a stir here. We did use 2 teaspoons, about a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons of canola oil. That's all we had on hand, so that's what we used. We're going to get it nice and hot. And we're going to add the garlic salt. We're just going to sprinkle this here on top and give it another stir. Add a little bit of the Mexican season. Not at all, only half. And we want to get this here all stirred in. There we go. A little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. Now we just need to cook this here for about 5 to 6 minutes, stirring occasionally until it's like tender crisp. So this will be very depending on how you want it. I made sure I cooked it just enough so that it didn't go too soft. Now we're just going to put it in a bowl. After we get it in the bowl, we don't want it to cool too much because we don't want our food cold. So what we're going to do is after it's in there, we will cover it with a plate later on. This took us a little while to do, but we'll remember after we get the next thing started. So we're going to dump the shrimp in. You should drain it before you actually dump it in. So I did drain it off camera. There was quite a bit of stuff in it. And then just dump the shrimp in. We're just going to leave it for a few minutes. And then we're going to cover our stuff here. We'll give our stuff a little bit of a stir here. We want to move it around a little bit or it'll burn. It does say to add the extra 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of oil to the shrimp, and we should only need to cook this here for 3-4 minutes, stirring occasionally. So this is only going to take us a couple minutes, and we just got to stir it up until it's brown the way that we like it. I like mine a little bit more cooked because I'm a little bit worried about food poisoning and stuff, so I always overcook mine just a tiny bit, but I don't suggest that. Definitely go by the guide and your look and feel for food. There we go. We add our stuff to our tomatoes. That's our cilantro. A little bit more of garlic salt. And the vinegar. We added the vinegar to it as well, and we're just going to let that set while we finish cooking these. A little bit of pepper. Remember to keep stirring this. It will stick to the pan. You do got to keep it moving. Alright, we want to add the rest of the Mexican seasoning spice to each of the dish. Half to each. Half to the first piece in the bowl and half to the piece in the pan. We want to give them a little bit of stir and mix it up. Make sure that it gets on everything. Stirring it well will make sure that it's got an even coat over everything. That's going to just make it so that it's not a big pocket of spicy stuff all at one time, and it's going to be well evenly spread out. Alright, now all we need to do is dish it out. First we're going to start by dipping up the stuff that we had in the bowl. This is going to be the first stuff that we cook. This is going to be the zucchini, the green peppers. And then we're going to add the shrimp on top of it. We're taking our time and we're putting it out nice. I suggest doing it a little bit faster than this before your food goes cold. But we're just going to kind of use this here and spread it out so that it looks nice. And then we're going to add the tomato and the cilantro, kind of like a garnish on top of it so that it looks good. There we go. We're just going to spread it out so that it looks nice. I like to go a little bit heavy on it. And this here guacamole, I wasn't really sure of it at first. To each his own. If you don't like it, there's lots of other alternatives to other things you could use. I wish I would have put it a little bit thinner instead of the big chunks that came out. So I definitely suggest spreading it out a little bit better than what that big blob was. So that was a little bit of a smash all at one time. Other than that, this here was actually a very tasty dish, and it was fairly easy to make. Yes, there was a couple of steps to it, but I actually found none of the processes very hard or complicated. And for something that you can order and get everything pre-measured out, a super easy recipe from HelloFresh that I definitely recommend to anybody that's just getting started or somebody with a low to new cooking experience. I think this here would be a good dish to get started with. There's nothing very complicated about it, and even if you mess it up a little bit, I don't think it would change the taste of it all that much. That being said, that's it for this one here. This is our HelloFresh, our smart Mexican inspired shrimp skillet. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!